Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Social Work Bubble podcast. I'm your host Laura, and I practice as a therapist in New York City. I have my bachelor's and master's degree in social work, and I work in private practice right now. Today we're going to talk about the adjustment to life after graduation and entering into working, employment, full-time, woohoo! This can be a very difficult adjustment for many people. It was for myself. I'm still in that process, to be quite honest. So I hope to offer some support and insight on how to make this adjustment as smooth as possible, some things that I've learned, and some things that I'm still working on in my day-to-day life. So let's dive in. We spend at least 18 years of our life in school. So adjusting to life without structure and the ungodly waking hours and 1 million responsibilities and your sole identity being that of student, it's important that we remember to give ourselves time and patience. Now, in terms of specific strategies, right, we can be patient, we can give ourselves time, and that's very important. But what's really practical here? Big part is finding a new identity. Like I said, our sole identity has been a student for most of our lives. After our education is done, we can feel very lost. So it's important that we develop a new identity, exploring new hobbies and activities, or even resuming old ones that you didn't have time for during school. But once again, we need to be gentle with ourselves. I used to be a crazy reader in high school, and college made that very difficult. I was really, really hard on myself after I graduated from grad school that, okay, I have all this time now, way more time than I used to in college. I should be reading like I used to in high school. I had so much going on in high school. Why am I not reading as much? I was really hard on myself, but that doesn't have to happen. And you don't have to go back 100% to all these things that you used to do just because you have the time now. And to be honest, it probably won't happen. We need to ease ourselves back into these hobbies, and we need to be flexible with ourselves. I've now gotten to the place where I'm reading and I'm journaling quite regularly, just as regularly as I used to, but it took time to get there. I graduated with my master's in May 2020. It's December 2021. So it took a year and a half, a little less than that, to really get back into the swing of things. I simply just had to take it one page at a time. I had to ease into it. I had this expectation that I was just going to be reading a whole book every single day, or I'd just be writing and journaling 20 pages every day. And that's not very realistic. So we have to continue to ask yourself, what is it I really want to do right now? What's really serving me right now? We have the complete freedom to do whatever we want. You can read whatever you want. There's no syllabus telling you what to do. There's no coach telling you what to do. So we can use this freedom to our advantage, and so that can be pursuing new interests, maybe things that, you want to try now that you have the time to do. Or maybe you want to just learn something new. Learning doesn't have to stop just because our education stops. Continue to be curious, to find a love of learning, to dive into things that, maybe before didn't really pique your interest, but now it's exciting. Just listen to yourself and use that freedom. Number 2 is to find structure and routine. Now, this is going to look different for everybody. I really thrive on early mornings and going to bed at 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes I can be quite the night owl though. So again, I'm pretty flexible with this, especially on the weekends. Many people, especially because of the pandemic, I think there's been a lot more flexibility and a lot more remote work, which it can be inherently flexible. So it's important to try to find the work hours that work best for you. Now, the beautiful thing about social work is it's such a diverse field. There are so many different kinds of jobs, and with that being said, so many different work hours. So I've been a fee-for-service therapist. I was a fee-for-service when I was in outpatient mental health. I'm fee-for-service now in private practice. Which is honestly phenomenal because I create my own schedule. So after I left community mental health, it was really important for me to take my schedule seriously and to have stricter boundaries as to what that looked like. So Ideally, I wanted to work 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. every single day. What I had been doing at my old job was I would sometimes start work at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't get done until 8 o'clock at night, like 5 days a week, which is just draining. And then it would take me an hour and a half to drive there, an hour and a half to drive home. So it was crazy. Now, at my new job, I also want to be able to accommodate some clients that need evening hours. So even though I want to do 8 to 2 every day, Monday and Tuesday, I work from 2 to 9 in the afternoon. And then Wednesday through Friday, I work from 8 to 2:30. So it's a lot better structure and routine that I have. And like I said, ideally, I'd want to kind of keep it the same every single day for me. But I've been able to manage this. And it's really nice not to start work until 2 o'clock on a Monday and to get done with work at 2:30 on a Friday. So that's been really awesome. My morning and night routine has also been really helpful because it truly sets the tone for my day. It allows me to relax and to calm my mind and my body for when I need to go to sleep. And this is certainly a key component for me and for most people in having a work-life balance, and that you want to make sure that a lot of that structure that's been bred into us since we were in kindergarten, it's still helpful to have that there. Going from all of the structure for 18 plus years of our life to absolutely nothing is crazy. For some people that might work, but I think for many of us, that's been such a constant in our life where we've adapted having that there. And so in some ways, I think maintaining that structure, just as a human, can be really important, especially if we want to accomplish anything that day or just feel like we're living our life, and have some kind of sense of what's going on. So you need to ask yourself what helps you feel prepared to start the day and implement that into your morning. Find a calming or mindful activity for a pre-bedtime ritual and try to implement that into your day. I personally like to do my devotions and I journal in the morning. It helps me kind of focus my mind, and then I read before I go to bed. So this routine also helps signal to your body, when it's kind of the normal time to be waking up, or when it's time to start calming down and getting ready for bed. Number 3 is to make a 5-year plan. I am a huge planner. I have had an obsession with planners and stationery for quite some time, and I really thrive on having goals. This might sound kind of weird for some people, but this is just going to show that I like to plan. I like to have an idea of what's going on. So in the new year, I basically have my New Year's resolutions, which are my yearly goals. I also break up my year into quarters. So based on my yearly goals, I then make quarterly goals. So then I focus on just like 3-month chunks of the year. And then out of my quarterly goals, I make monthly goals. So I have a more specific focus for each month. That's really helped me actually focus and get things done. So that way I'm not saying, okay, I want to run 10 miles by the end of the year. It breaks it down so that's actually accomplishable for me. Which brings me into what I'm saying is, remember the SMART goals acronym. I think a lot of us learned this in social work school. A lot of this, it's just common knowledge. But SMART goals means it's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and it's timely. So you really want to think about what you want to get out of life. This could not just be for your social work career. It could be for your family and personal life, your hobbies, your side hustles, your fitness, your physical health, your spiritual and mental well-being, anything. Having a vision helps us focus. But again, we want to make sure that we're flexible. I love having a plan. I love planning things out. I think a 5-year plan has been really helpful for me, but plans change, and that's also okay. And so we also want to have that compassion and that flexibility that it's good to have a focus. It's good to, have this structure and have this plan so we actually can move intentionally and act intentionally. But plans can also change, and that's also okay when that does happen. So just to be flexible there. Number 4, this is a huge one. Enjoy your life. Social work in particular, can be very difficult. It's a hard job. It is not for a lot of people. My switch to post-grad was pretty seamless, a work transition, because I stayed at my graduate level internship and I maintained my same caseload. I just built it up a little higher. But it became overwhelming very quickly because there wasn't like that gap where, okay, I'm done with school, I'm applying for jobs, now I'm entering the workforce. It was just like, I just like was continuing to work. And so in some parts it almost still felt like I was in school because I maintained the same job, which was kind of weird for me not to have like a concrete like end and start. But for me, it became overwhelming very quickly. I was also in a community mental health clinic, which was very stressful. And it's really important to start your career off with an understanding of what your personal boundaries and limits are. A lot of the time we learn through experience. I learned quickly that the overwhelm and the stress that I was able to deal with in college was very different from having that 100% in my work. I was able to deal with a lot of stress and a lot of overwhelm when it was coming from different areas of my life. But when all the stress was only coming from work, I realized that was not something that works for me. And so if that means that you need to take time to find an organization that really fits with your values, if you have the means to do that, to find a place that resonates with your work-life standards, has a good culture around that, do that. Honestly, financially, that's probably not realistic for most people. And so sometimes we work at a place that maybe is not the best place to be working at, but, on the side, we're maybe searching for a better fit. And honestly, it's your life. To be quite frank, you are replaceable. I know as social workers, I think a lot of the times we have this hero complex. Like, there's a lot of social workers I've met, and to be quite honest, a lot of white female social workers. I'm a white female, so, it's a very real thing that happens. We have this like hero complex. A lot of it's a white savior complex, and we really think that we're just going to change 100% of the world overnight. And that doesn't happen. And to be quite honest, we are very replaceable. If we leave, they will replace us, or they won't replace us and they'll just give our work to someone else anyways. So it's important to make sure that you're also satisfied with where you're at and that you're taken care of by the organization, that you're able to take care of yourself. It took me a lot of time to realize that. I sacrificed a lot because I wanted to be there for my clients. I put my clients' well-being above my own, and it really bit me in the butt because I was burnt out my first year post-grad. Now I'm finally working in a practice that values my well-being, that honestly insists that people take time off, that is very consistent with supervision, is always in touch, is always following up, and is very, very supportive. And that literally changed my life. I am so grateful to be able to be at a space now where first the commute is incredible, but the environment, at first I was just reading the job description. I'm thinking this isn't possible. Like, this is too good to be true. Because it just seemed like in social work, how can you be in social work and have this supportive of an environment? But it's true. And I'm so glad that I found this space that I'm in now. So enjoy your life. We only have one life. We never know when it's going to end. And I don't mean to cause any anxiety on any people saying that, but I think social work can cause a lot of us to be overwhelmed. And we don't want to be the people that all of a sudden, for a whole entire life, we're a student and that becomes our whole identity. And then we leave school and being a social worker becomes our whole identity. We can't repeat that cycle because then, if something happens and we need to change our field or we feel burnt out, it's going to be really hard for us to cope with that. So have a life, enjoy it. Social work is not the end all be all. I love my job. I love being a social worker. I do think we create amazing change in this world, but it used to be my sole identity, and it was really hard for me to deal with the fact that I was burnt out because I thought I was invincible, and I thought that I was immune to being burnt out. So this is part of having a balance. You can be a great social worker and still have a life outside of social work that you love and enjoy and are present for. Number 5, maintain a social circle. This is one that I'm still working on. I have a lot of anxiety related to social situations, and it's really difficult for me to make friends quickly. I'm pretty shy, which I think is interesting because I am a therapist, and I've noticed apparently when I'm a therapist, I can just like turn on this very, not extroverted, but I'm more talkative, I'm more open, I'm more confident. And then when I'm in any kind of social situation where it's like personally me trying to communicate to someone, I lose all sense of what that means. So I'm also introverted, that I like to stay home. I like to be by myself. I enjoy those moments. It's not like I'm also itching to be out all the time. So I automatically have less of a chance of meeting people because I am by myself a lot, or I am at home a lot. So we have to remember too, a lot of the people that we meet in our life are people that we met at work or at school, people that we saw for a longer period of time, we developed relationships with, we were always around them. We can use the same idea to our advantage. Have regular spots that you go to. Maybe that's the grocery store, maybe that's a cafe. You get breakfast before work at a certain place. You enjoy libraries or bookstores. These are mostly things I enjoy. Or it's a particular gym that you go to. Getting familiar with these spaces, making routines, will also help other people get familiar with you. And that could lead to some really exciting friendships and connections with others. Outside of like a social circle, like with just personal peer relationships, if you need to, join a support group. There's plenty of support groups, whether they're virtual or wherever town or city that you're living in. See what's out there. There's a lot of resources now. A lot of people find a big social circle online, which we always want to be cautious with, but I know plenty of people that have healthy and real relationships with people online. But again, we want to exercise caution there. But do your best to maintain a social circle, whatever that means for you. That doesn't mean it's a big circle. It honestly could be a line. It could be you and another person. But I think it's really good to expand who's in your support in case you need them. And also it's just nice to feel connected to other people, to feel connected to the world around you. Number 6 is avoid comparisons with others. I've often struggled with comparing myself to other people because it was a very normal part of my life growing up. And I noticed post-grad during college, I put a lot of pressure on myself to reach certain milestones, to accomplish a certain level of success, within a certain time period. But every person has a different life path. Comparison honestly makes no sense because you can't compare most things, like you really can't compare my life with my friend from high school's life because we are living different lives. We have different life paths. I'm a social worker that lives in New York City. They're in sales, living in a small town. Of course, we're going to have a different life. We're different people. We have a different purpose here. And that's okay. We are the ones that make the rules for our life. We decide what is success and what is achievement. It might look different, but different is not negative. And it's important that we remember that. And with that being said, if you notice that's a pattern in your life, I don't think this is something that I really discuss later, but we need to take care of ourselves. If you notice like certain unhealthy patterns, whether that's just mentally or emotionally or, within your behavior, we're social workers. It's okay. And it's important that you also get mental health support. And so if that means, you also think it's important for you to see a therapist, to join a support group, do it. I've been seeing my therapist. In March, it'll be for 2 years now. And it was truly life-changing. It was really hard for me. I didn't start therapy until I was almost done with school. Or did I start when I was in school? That's a great question. I can't think right now. But that was really life-changing for me. That helped me a lot with adjusting to moving to New York City, to from a rural area, to adjusting to life after college. And I've mentioned this before. I had PTSD. I also have depression. And so it was important for me that I had that professional support there. And it really was life-changing. And it was good to have some accountability there too. So avoid comparisons and get some mental health support. We need it. Number 7, this is very important. I don't think it's talked about enough, especially in social work. Learn to manage your money. especially in an entry-level position when money can be very, very tight. I say especially, it's important at all levels to manage your money. I've said this many times before, it's a very cliche thing to say, but social work is a profession where we are unfortunately and often overworked and underpaid. Many people are also never taught to budget or to manage their finances, and how many expenses there are in your life really hits you when you're paying for 100% of everything, or you no longer have student loan money to go back to, or maybe that part-time job that holds you over, or even parent support, whatever that is. That's no longer there, and you are 100% responsible for 100% of everything in your life. And what do you know? You become an adult. Maybe you get your own place. Now you have to pay rent, you have to pay utilities, you have to pay for Wi-Fi and groceries and gas or parking or public transportation, and insurance, and maybe you want to put things away in your savings, or so many different things going on. There are a lot of free resources online for beginner budgeting. I've had the absolute privilege, a huge privilege and advantage, is that my dad works in finance. He's a banker. I've learned a lot from him. My fiance is also in the business management and finance worlds. It honestly is still beyond me. A lot of it I still don't understand, especially when it comes to investing. Truly beyond me. But I've learned so much, and I've realized the importance of starting that, not even post-grad. I know this is about a post-grad podcast, but if you're able to start this, like, as soon as you're an adult, like 18, if your parents allow you to have like a bank account when you're a teenager, do it. Like, as early as possible, learn, because I think just like information, access to financial information and financial literacy is so important, especially in our field when money management can really make or break if we're living paycheck to paycheck. So like I said, there's a lot of free resources online for beginner budgeting. I do like to use the Financial Diet. I also watch One Big Happy Life on YouTube. And let me look at someone else that I watch. Let's see. So One Big Happy Life, I said. And The Broken Wallet, The Financial Diet, and The Organized Money are all YouTube channels that I watch, and they've given me a lot of helpful insight. They're also just very beginner friendly. It makes budgeting and financial goals a lot more attainable and realistic, which is really helpful. It's not like one of those like motivational white men speakers that are just like, clearly you just shouldn't be buying a $7 Starbucks drink every day, which, there's some truth to that, but like, that's also not going to make you a millionaire, so be quiet. Anyways, learn. If you're able to afford some professional, insight, do that. I know in New York City, if you are below a certain income level, when it comes to tax season, you are able to work with an accountant for free that's provided by the city. And, if you're able to use that time to get other information on budgeting, on financial tips, do that. Look at what public services are available. A lot of libraries offer free webinars or workshops on many different areas. Sometimes it's an Excel workshop, sometimes it could be like a financial workshop, anything like that. See what's out there. I'm no expert, so it's important that, do your own research, see what works for you. But something that was really important for me is I had to look at what benefits I was provided at work. So I started a Roth IRA. I have an emergency savings. I have an investment account. I also have a lot of other savings accounts because I'm saving up for a wedding and a honeymoon. I have a short-term savings account for more like immediate travel and holidays and gifts and things like that. And I have another savings account because I'm supposed to be saving up for an apartment. A lot of expenses in the next year that I need to be very mindful of in my budget. So The world of finance is still quite strange to me, but we need to try to make the most of the money that we're paid in social work so we can still live a quality life. When you make a budget, make sure you're realistic. Really ask yourself what's necessary. We can be on a budget but still enjoy life. So very important to just remember that. Number 8, make sure you're taking care of yourself physically and getting enough sleep. I did not do this my first year post-grad. I was largely overwhelmed with work. And I'll say I didn't do this consistently. I did have many periods where I'd be like super motivated for a week and I'd be very consistent in working out. But I became very overwhelmed and I neglected a lot of the exercise and the healthy diet that I had. I would Uber Eats a lot, which financially was not within my budget. And I didn't feel like I had the time. As soon as I come home from work, I'd fall asleep. As soon as I have to wake up and just like leave for work, it was work, sleep. I really feel like I didn't have the time to take care of myself. Something that was really important here is, yes, there were some behavior changes I could have made. Part of that was my overwhelm. Part of it was my depression that was making those things very difficult for me. But to be quite honest, changing jobs was the best thing I could have done in that situation. My commute took 3 hours out of my day. I had a caseload of 54 people. It was not sustainable. It was not something I could be at long term. Also, I worked in Brooklyn when I live in an upper Manhattan, and that just doesn't make any sense. So changing jobs was a really important part of my life. And honestly, like the behavior changes, I could have turned my phone off earlier. I could have listened to my alarm clock in the morning. Sleep and physical health can really make or break how you get through a day and how you cope with the stresses of social work. And it's important that we don't take those things lightly. Depending on the job that you have, this job can be very physically draining. If you're doing home visits, if you're out in the community, even if you're just working with kids. When I do kid therapy, I'm like moving all the time. If you're sitting at a desk all day or sitting in a chair all day, that can affect your posture and your other muscles in your body. It is so, so important that you take your health seriously, because so many years doing this job, it will show. It'll show through gray hair and wrinkles and body aches and pains and a flat butt. So you just want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Number 9, my last tip is keep growing professionally and continue to network. Getting involved in whatever way. I'm on the NSAW NYC committee, the nominations committee. So I'm part of their board committee. I also applied to be on another board. I'm very involved in many organizations. I enjoy volunteering on a regular basis and using LinkedIn to connect with other people. So it's also through these like volunteering and board roles and just like getting involved with the community that you can connect with other people. Go to social work events, keep in touch with classmates, keep in touch with professors. So many professional growth moments are provided by the people that are in your network. And with that, it also creates a net of social support that we are able to surround ourselves with people in our field that actually get what we're doing, that understand the stress, that understand the successes, and that can be really encouraging too. So you just want to keep that in mind. Obviously, like we can work hard and we can try to work towards our milestones, whatever that is, but a lot of the time this is a reality, is that a lot of people get to where they are based on the people that they know. And, just recognize that. Maybe that's staying involved in your alumni association or, getting on some boards, going to different events where maybe there's like a social work panel. I always recommend getting involved with the National Association of Social Workers. I think they could grow in a lot of ways, but they provide so many resources. They provide truly networking. I've met so many people in social work just from being a part of the NSAW, where, it's been an incredible opportunity just to get other insight and to be connected with other people that are in organizations in the community and to see what resources they have. So that's been really encouraging. It's also just motivating. It's really motivating. I've noticed that I've lost a lot of motivation and drive when I'm just working by myself. But when you're connected with other people and you're seeing the awesome things that you're doing, it's awesome. Like, it's so cool to see the changes that social workers are creating. And it really just like puts a fire in you to be like, this is so cool. Like, I'm so excited for the work that we're doing. And it can help kind of reignite this fire and this passion for social work. And maybe it'll spark some new ideas that you want to develop or anything like that. So stay connected to continue to grow professionally, continue to educate yourself, read more books or studies. Really just do what you can. So with that being said, I just want to stress this reminder that adjusting to life after graduation can be difficult. There's a lot of changes, even in the little day-to-day life changes that we don't even realize until we're in it and experiencing it. Give yourself grace and compassion. Continue to ask yourself, what is serving you? What are your needs? It does get better, and this can be an awesome period of growth and of thriving. So thank you all so much for listening. If you have any comments, you want to share your own tips or suggestions or struggles with post-grad life, you're trying to prepare for that period coming up, share your experience, comment wherever you're listening, and don't forget to share, follow, like this podcast. You can follow me at Social Work Bub on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest. You can check out the Social Work Bubble Etsy shop, where I provide worksheets and activities and curriculum guides and workbooks for social workers and therapists and others in the field, and my website and blog, thesocialworkbubble.com. So I hope you're all staying safe, and I look forward to continuing to grow together in the wonderful field of social work.